Welcome to today's concert performed by the Greater Grand Forks Symphony Orchestra. We are excited to share our music with you today. March is Music in Our Schools Month. What a great way to celebrate music. My name is Anella Winger.
And I am Mirko Drago. We are going to guide you through this concert experience today.
Before the symphony performs, please make sure your hands are ready and empty, your feet are in a good position to help you listen, your voices are off, your eyes are ready to watch, and your ears are ready to listen.
The concertmaster, or lead violinist, has a job of tuning the orchestra so that the sounds of all the instruments blend well together.
Let's welcome Alexander Haraskatsi, today's concertmaster, to the stage.
Thank you for sitting quietly so that each player could carefully listen and tune their instruments. You got a chance to meet the concertmaster. Now, I would like to introduce you the conductor for today's concert, who also happens to be my dad. Please join me in welcoming Maestro Alejandro Drago to the stage.
On stage, you see one symphony, but four families of instruments. Instruments are grouped into families because of the way they look and the way they produce sound. We are going to let you hear each of these instruments separately throughout the concert. Please do not clap after each instrument plays. Let's save your applause until after the group pieces are performed.
Let's start off by learning about the percussion family. This is a group of instruments that are hit, shaken, or rubbed to produce a sound. There are many percussion instruments in the world, but only one of them is used in our first piece today. The timpani is able to play higher notes and lower notes. It can play either individual notes or a roll.
We will begin today's concert with a piece by German composer Felix Mendelssohn. He originally entitled it The Hebrides, naming it after a set of islands he visited off of Scotland. In 1834, the year after its first publication, a publishing company printed it with the title Fingal's Cave, which is a landmark on one of the Hebrides Islands. Mendelssohn wanted his music to help you imagine what this beautiful area looked like. Maestro, we are ready to begin.
family of instruments sitting in the front of the symphony is the string family. I know that some of you in the audience are playing string instruments in your school's orchestra.
This will be a great chance for you to hear how you will sound as you continue to practice. You will notice that the string instruments all have the same shape, but are different sizes. The violin is the smallest and highest sounding string instrument. Please listen to our concertmaster play a short excerpt on his violin.
The violas are a bit bigger than the violins. Therefore, their sound will be a bit lower. Listen to what the viola sounds like.
The cellos are so large that the performers need to sit down to play them. Listen to the beautiful sound of the cello.
Finally, we have the string bass. What kind of sound does it have?
Let's put all of these instruments together and perform part of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's Divertimento. This movement, or section, is called andante, which means moderately slow or at a walking speed. the next family we would like to introduce you to is the woodwind family. These instruments are usually made out of wood, and you blow wind into them to produce the sound. The flute was originally made of wood, but is now made of silver. Like all of the woodwinds, it has keys to make its sound go higher and lower. The flute does not play in our next piece, but it will be playing throughout the concert. Let's hear how it sounds.
Sometimes you hear a sound even higher than the flute. The piccolo is half the size of a flute.
The other woodwind instruments have a reed that causes the air in the instrument to vibrate when you blow against it. The clarinet is a single reed instrument. Its reed needs to be put on a mouthpiece in order for the sound to be produced.
We have 2 double reed woodwind instruments in the symphony today. Double reeds don't need a mouthpiece because the 2 reeds vibrate against each other to produce the sound. The oboe is the smallest of them.
The bassoon is usually the largest woodwind instrument in the symphony. Its low sound has been heard in many different pieces of music. Today, you are in for a very special treat. There is another double reed woodwind instrument that is not used very often in performance groups, but it will be playing in our next piece. The contrabassoon is made of 18 feet of tubing that is curled up upon itself. It sounds an entire octave lower than the bassoon.
Antonin Dvorak, a Czech composer from the 1800s, loved the sound of the woodwinds. He composed a serenade to be played by the oboes, clarinets, and bassoons.
Dvorak later added a cello and string bass to play with this group to enforce the lower sounds of the bassoon.
Wait a minute. It looks like the French horn is going to play with this group. I thought this was supposed to be a piece for woodwinds.
Mirko, you're right. Even though the French horn is a brass instrument, it often performs with the woodwinds because its sound also blends well with theirs. Let's enjoy Dvorak's Serenade for Winds.
The next family we will talk about is the brass family. The soprano, or the highest sounding brass instrument, is the trumpet. It often plays the main melody of a piece.
As I mentioned earlier, the French horn has a mellow sound that blends well with both woodwind and brass instruments. When the symphony performs, the bell of the French horn actually points to the back of the stage, which means that the sound has to come up and over the musicians to get to the audience.
Brass instruments usually have valves to make their sound go higher and lower. The trombone, however, has a slide that is used to change notes.
Wait a minute, Mirko, am I remembering correctly that you play the trombone?
Yes.
If I hold your script, would you play us a little tune? That was fabulous. Thank you so much, Mirko, for sharing that with us. Right now, I'd like to give you a chance to hear how trombone players can also play glissandos, which is when they slide between the notes, and they can do this easily because they have the slide instead of valves. Let's hear from the symphony's principal trombone player.
A euphonium looks like a small tuba. The range of the notes that it plays are similar to the trombone's range, but the euphonium has valves instead of a slide.
The bass of the brass family is the tuba. Like the trumpet and French horn, it has valves, but its sound is much lower.
In addition to the brass instruments, you will also be hearing more percussion instruments in our next piece. Perhaps one of the most commonly heard percussion instruments is the snare drum.
You will also hear the tenor drum, as well as the bass drum. The bass drum's most important job is to keep the steady beat.
Every once in a while, you will hear the cymbals adding power to the music.
I'll bet many of you have played a triangle in your music classes.
The next piece the symphony will perform is a fanfare by contemporary composer Burl Phillips. He composed most of his music during the middle of the 1900s. Considering that the composers of the other pieces you heard in this concert wrote their music 150 to 200 years ago, this piece is pretty new.
concert would not be completed if it did not have a featured soloist. I am very excited to introduce you to Isabella Kumagai Willard. She is the 2020 winner of the Young Artist Competition that the Symphony sponsors each year. Please welcome Ms. Kumagai Willard to the stage.
Thank you for being a part of this special concert today. In order for us to get to know you a little bit, could we ask you some questions? Sure. First of all, I understand you did not grow up in Grand Forks. Where are you from?
I'm from Brazil in South America.
You've come a long way. How old were you when you started to play the piano?
I was 8 years old when I started. Then I had a quick break during high school, which lasts 3 years in Brazil, and then I started playing again.
I'm curious, about how much time do you spend practicing?
Well, if my professor is watching this, then I'll say 6 hours. But honestly, I think it'd be around 3 hours a day.
So 3 hours a day. That would be if you woke up at 9 o'clock in the morning, you would practice until lunchtime.
Kind of, because I usually take breaks in between, and I never count the breaks, even if it's a 5-minute break. So in order to get 3 hours, I usually spend 4.5 hours. Yeah.
Wow, that's dedication. Now, I am curious, what is your favorite part about the concerto you are playing today?
I think the last section it has many fast runs, arpeggios, and also I get that feeling like I did it. Mission accomplished, yeah.
That's a great feeling, for sure.
Miss Kumagai Willard, where's your music? Did you forget it at home?
No, the music is here. When we perform with the orchestra, we usually memorize it. Yeah.
Well, I'm really excited to hear you play. We're going to let you go get ready at the piano. We will now hear the performance of the third movement or section of Edvard Grieg's Piano Concerto in A minor. Since this composer was well known for being a fabulous piano player, let's hear how he wrote this piece to challenge other piano players.
That was absolutely awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Kumagai Willard, for sharing your talents with us today.
And thank you to Maestro Drago and the Greater Grand Forks Symphony for your beautiful music.
And thanks to all of you for joining us today.
Have a great day, and we hope you get to hear the symphony again soon.